Anthony Edwards, if you remember, they both went first overall. Ja went behind Zion Williamson at number 2, but Zion didn't play a single game this season due to foot injuries. Threw down a few of these highlight reel dunks, though, pregame and in practice, if you remember. His Pelicans were eliminated last night by the Suns. Today, he was asked if he was actually healthy enough to have returned in the postseason.
From a physical standpoint, I definitely could have played, but me and my team in the front office and the team, we decided that longevity was better than trying to rush back.
Longevity was better than trying to rush back. When you hear that, Shanae, what does that say to you?
Oh, I'm so frustrated. Just because we finally wanted him to speak, and now we speak, and now we're getting more questions a little bit. Like, every athlete is going to say they want to play, and they feel like they could have helped, especially when your team has lost and is out of the playoffs. So he's saying, per se, the right things. But if I'm Zion and this is big picture, I feel like this situation, like, the Pelicans made their own name without him in this circumstance. And now I'm trying to jump on board to this team and this culture that really can actually be set over the edge if you are in it for the right reasons. I have to give so much credit to CJ McCollum because once he stepped in New Orleans, the Prez, which everyone knows, NBPA president, it felt like there was leadership. People were empowered. B.I. balls out. And now Zion is like the final piece, which you would thought be the main piece because he's the franchise player. So, like, I hear these things and I'm just like, so I'm glad you're speaking, but let the offseason work.
There's two franchise players. There are players that establish themselves as that dude, and then there's guys that we want to be that guy because you were the top pick, because you were the best player. My thing about this, he made the right decision. The organization made the right decision. We're in the postseason. We're fighting. You don't take a Ferrari out of the garage that's just been going to the grocery store and then you try and have it run a race because it's not fine-tuned for that. He's not fine-tuned for the most intense moment of your basketball career, and that's what the playoffs are. And we've seen guys that are fine-tuned, Devin Booker. We've seen Chris Middleton. We've seen guys tweak things and have issues. If you put a guy that hasn't played basketball in an entire year out there in the court and say, go help us during the postseason, you are asking for trouble.
Yeah.
The disappointment probably came truly about 6-7 weeks ago, about 2 months ago, when you were hoping that he could have joined them to build up into this run. Once that window was gone, Jamal Murray, Kawhi Leonard, we can go down the list of guys that just decided to sit out the entire year, rightfully so.
You just saw Zion and called him a Ferrari? That's what you saw? All right.
Okay. You know, like that bubble Ferrari. The bubble Ferrari. What's that called? I don't know what it is. So, like, you know, the little SUV joint.
So they definitely did the right thing. And Shanae hit on something that I want to talk about. Now Zion has to join a situation that was successful without him. And he played 68 games last season. 27 points, 60% from the floor. So now he sees Ingram improve. He sees them add CJ. The rookies play really well in the playoffs. And they're not begging him to come back. And so now when you have a coach like Willie Green, who started really poor with the squad, and then he now leads them to the play-in and then to the playoffs, Zion is like, I could get a max deal and join them? I need in.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing that they did that was smart. He's going to have to use this offseason and get in his best shape possible.
Ever. Yeah.
He's a professional athlete. It's okay for us to speak on this. Luka, when he changed his body, Draymond, when he changed his body,
Jokic, Embiid.
It happens.
Giannis even?
It happens. And imagine, he's dominant right now.
Yes.
When he decides to do that, it's going to be like
It's not a sustainable dominance.
Yeah.
It's not a sustainable dominance, and that's the real big issue.
Correct.
Right? You can't depend on him. If he can only play that amount of games,
Right.
like, you need 70 games from
And
the
that
guy.
goes to get in better shape. But check out a potential starting lineup for this squad next season. A team that just lost to the Suns in 6 games, but now you add Zion to that mix. What could that potential be for them? But let's get a little more insight into Zion Williamson, because in addition to talking about whether he could have played in the playoffs, he was talking about that extension. Adrian Wojnarowski, our NBA senior insider, joins us now here in Woj. He said he couldn't wait to sign that extension fast enough if and when the team delivers it to him. From what you've been told and people you've spoken to, what insight can you give us?
Michael, I'm told that's that New Orleans is going to offer Zion Williamson the full 5-year, $180 million plus extension, including the escalator clauses that could certainly take it north of that. And that's certainly been the expectation around the league. that New Orleans would offer Zion Williamson the max. What you don't have to presume right now is the excitement Zion Williamson has for this team rejoining this group, the job that Dave Griffin, Trajan Lang did in the front office, and of course Willie Green did, bringing in C.J. McCollum, drafting Herb Jones. You've seen the development of Brandon Ingram, and adding Zion Williamson back into that team makes them, this is going to be a significant force in the Western Conference. And listen, we know what has happened historically in New Orleans. Anthony Davis, Chris Paul, franchise players, who asked ultimately to move on. It's clear where Zion Williamson stands. He wants to be there. July 1, New Orleans can offer him that max deal on his rookie extension. And so that's where those discussions will begin. But certainly Zion Williamson made clear today, if offered that max contract, 5 years, $180 million plus, he's all in.
Yeah, and all in with a good collection of talent behind him and around him there in New Orleans, which some of those other players you mentioned, Woj, didn't feel they had at that time. Woj will be back with us a little bit later here on NBA Countdown.
Zach LaVine says he plans to enjoy his upcoming free agency, but he didn't rule out a return to Chicago. LaVine was a part of the Bulls' hot start, but missed time with a knee injury and was in health and safety protocols for the team's final playoff game. And how about Zion Williamson? Speaking to the media for the first time since September, he didn't play this season, but he said he cannot wait to re-up with the Panthers. Zion is eligible for a 5-year, $181 million max rookie extension.
It's been a rough year. Had its rough patches, but I'm in a great space now. It sucks watching from the sideline because I just want to be out there, but just seeing the potential. We got a lot of great pieces, and I'm excited to get on the court with those guys.
You're eligible for extension this summer. If they offered you an extension, would you be willing to accept it?
Of course. Of course. I wouldn't be able to sign it fast enough.
Of course he would sign it. I mean, you hear him right there. He played in only 85 games. That makes him just the third #1 overall pick since 1966 to play in fewer than 100 games in the 3 seasons after they were drafted. Of course, Greg Oden dealt with multiple injuries, and David Robinson spent the first 2 years of his career in the Navy before playing all 82 games in year 3.
A dramatic stage is set for the second round between the defending champion Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. Season series was split 2-2 in the regular season. The last time we saw these teams head-to-head, early April, but the champs taking it by 6 in a thriller. This time it's totally different because Jason Tatum missed that game with the knee injury. Now, a big part of Boston's success this year has been defense. Celtics held their opponents to fewer than 105 points per game. That's the best in the NBA. Boston also led the league in opponent field goal percentage and 3-point field goal percentage. The league's defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart, had a lot to do with that. Please now to welcome in Defensive Player of the Year, Marcus Smart. Now, Marcus, you're coming off a sweep of Kyrie Irving and KD. The first time either player has been swept in their careers. What did it mean to you and the team to avenge last year's playoff loss to Brooklyn?
I mean, it felt good. Obviously, we didn't like the way that we went out that series. They got the best of us, but, for us, it was just going in that game and executing to the best of our ability and being the best team that we could be. Not focusing on what they are doing, what they're going to do, as much as focusing on ourselves. And, we're on to the next. So, it was a good win, a good series, and a great series as a team. So we got to keep it up.
And speaking of focusing on yourself, you led the way defensively against Kyrie and Kevin Durant in that series. Why are you so committed on that side of the ball?
I mean, it's not something that, gets a lot of high praise, in a game of basketball. It's all about the points, mostly, And I was always been told, it's anybody can go get 50 on any given day. You can luck up and get 50 or get 20. Anybody can get 20 on any given day. But getting 20 and stopping your opponent from getting 20, that's something different. Not everybody can do that. So, I want to be one of those guys that, is a multitask of things in my arsenal when it comes to my game, not only